And the question that comes up, at least it has been for a couple of days, is about being and doing. And I realized that one of the most difficult things to discuss, because it has to be an experience, is non-doing. And what it really means. Non-doing is really the perfect word for living the spiritual life, the true life. Okay? So we'll cover that. And I have a few questions that people have asked, because there is no clarity about non-doing. Okay, so I'd like to start with the questions, and then we can explore them after we cover the points of non-doing. First, thank you for your weekly scripts, as they certainly lift up my spirits. My problem is that no matter what I do or read, I keep slipping back into my ego control and negative thoughts take over. Is there something I can do? I'd like you to really listen to these questions because they're very relevant to the topic. Second question. One question that baffles me is about choice and control in my life. What extent or control or choice do I have over my life? What does it mean when you say it is personal control that creates all emotional suffering, and that the real control and power is love? Can you explain it to me? Okay. There seems to be two worlds. The world of doing and the world of being. But in truth they are one. But what happens is that doing takes a priority in most people's lives, and therefore there's no understanding. But when being takes over, it's a different matter altogether. So let's explore this. Now we know what we mean by doing. Doing means that deciding as a person, reaching your own decisions, manipulating, controlling, changing things around you, very strong in likes and dislikes and what should be done or not be done. And the idea of having to do something about it is one of the strongest of all. And over the years, this is something that I have found out. Well, what can I do? Or what should I do? How do I go about it? How do I unfold it? Okay, which is natural. But we're going to see that these questions become irrelevant once we understand being. And then we have being. Being is all about being. Accepting, forgiving, allowing, surrendering, being life itself. Now the two are in complete contrast, but they're not really. You see, doing, when it takes complete control, we make many mistakes. We end up in the wrong relationships, we end up making the wrong choices, and it can be helped because we do it from likes and dislikes and concepts from the past, the way we see things. So there are three phases that we go through in understanding doing and being. First is called doing, naturally, where everything, just all these questions, if you recall them, if you listen to them, what shall I do? How can I control this? How can I overcome this? How can I fix this? What can I do about it? You see? And I hope that by the end of this evening you'll see the irrelevance of these questions, because it is so simple. Then when a person goes to the doing stage and finds out that there are many mistakes, there are many things that happen in the way that are confounding and confusing, and then we begin to see that there's a deeper aspect of living life. And so we try to live the being life. But the moment we try to live the being life, it doesn't work, because it's still doing being. Do you understand? Okay. And then we reach the third stage in being. And this is the most beautiful part, because only through being can you do. Anything that you do apart from being will not work out. Let me give you an example here. Okay? There is a child that misbehaves, and The child is always throwing temper tantrums, is always reacting. The parents are completely frazzled by how to do, what to do with the child. So they think up many different ways how to placate the child. You know, buy him things, do different things, you know, controlling him, punishing him, disciplining him. Nothing seems to work. Okay, this is doing. You understanding this? One day, she asked maybe a psychologist, and the psychologist asked a question that she's completely taken aback. He says, do you love the child? And she says, well, of course I love the child. He's my child. Says, okay, then let love work through you, what to do. And how do you love? See, there's when we begin to understand being. People confuse love with loving. And there is a difference between the two. When you try to be loving, you are not loving, you are doing love. Love is something that you feel inside. It's something that you are. So now, something awakened in her. Of course I love the child. Something inside her has begun to listen to him. Because no matter how anybody acts, they're acting from a need. They're acting from a feeling of lack. And it's always love, believe it or not. So now she begins to listen. Now what happens here is that because she tried to control the child became difficult, naturally. So now she starts to listen to him. The child doesn't change overnight, but slowly, because she's listening to him, because she's more with him, the child can actually feel it. He begins to trust her again. See, the child loses trust whenever he's controlled or disciplined without feeling loved. So now the child begins to listen and things begin to change. Now, where is the doing of the mother? Everything was done through her listening. There was nothing for her to do but simply see what the child wanted, needed, what he felt, what he experienced. In other words, she listened. That very listening created all the doing. So she wasn't doing anymore. She was acting from love automatically. It was coming from that listening, from that source of being. For example, we find this even in medicine. You know, you have a headache, take an aspirin. You know, something is bothering you, well, take something to kill the pain. Well, it works temporarily, but you see what happens is that we treat a symptom instead of seeing the whole person. And so when you don't see the whole person, you see the person as a fragmented part, as a part, then what happens is you're treating a symptom, but you're not taking care of what is causing the symptom in the first place. You see? And then we don't listen. So the action is coming from a doing rather than being. Being is a holistic thing. It's seeing the whole picture. Same thing with business, for example. Now, I read something, I don't know where it was, quite some time ago, that most businesses fail within the first 5 years. And the question is, why do most businesses fail? Why the success rate is so low? And it's very interesting, because there is doing instead of being. Let me explain. Ask anybody if they really love giving service from what they do, and they have a successful business, because service is love. But if a business is built solely on economy, I want to make money. You see? It's just like saying to hell with the consumer type of thing. You see? So you're putting economy or money before service. You're putting doing before being, and it simply doesn't work. It cannot work. So now, how do you join together? Okay? The doing and the being. Very simply. Learn to listen.